Hi, everyone. Welcome to First Friday Spirit Talk. Thank you for joining us. I'm Christopher Mitchell. I'll be your host. And today we're going to open with a short segment that I call Chris's Astrocast, where I'll explore some of the current energies that are going on through the lens of astrology. So this month, actually just right now, what we've got going on is one planet is stationing to move direct. At the same time, another planet is stationing to move retrograde. And so just to break this down a little, planets are usually moving, from our perspective, they're usually moving forwards in the sky, pushing ahead, making progress, going, forward. But then when they station, they seem to stop, slow down, stop, and then they turn retrograde and they seem to move backwards for a while before slowing down, stopping, and moving forwards again. And when planets are moving forwards, they're doing their thing in a pretty straightforward way, functioning in an outward, effective way. But when they go retrograde and they go backwards, they turn inwards and they go into a period of review and reflection, cleaning up and upgrading what isn't working about themselves, or getting things in line, getting things tightened up so that when they start to move forwards again, the shop or the house is in order. So there are these periods where these parts of us periodically get refreshed and updated and cleaned up so that all of us, our psychic spiritual maintenance kind of happens in these retrograde periods. So right now we've got an interesting segment of time where Mercury, which is the planet of thought and communication and making plans and organizing stuff, it's been retrograde for 3 weeks. And literally at like 3 a.m., it's stopped and it's moving forwards again, very, very slowly, but it's direct. So Mercury's direct, but tomorrow Saturn is, stopping and starting to move retrograde itself, and it's going to be moving retrograde for the next 4 months. So there's kind of this baton pass happening where Mercury, and Saturn's the planet of structure and organization and working with reality. So Mercury's done its review period. It's straightened out all of its plans. It's untangled all of the tangles in its thinking, and it's gotten lined up with moving forwards. And now it's going to be moving forwards, but it's passing off this baton over to Saturn, which now has to spend the next 4 months going inward and kind of doing its own review process. And these two planets, as one moves direct and the other moves retrograde, this is happening as they're squaring each other, which means that they're kind of pressing on each other in a way that creates challenge or friction or just a dialogue that's a little bit tense. Mercury has figured out its plans, it's worked through its process, and it's ready to go ahead with all of its ideas. But Saturn is slowing down and it's like, wait a second, Mercury, you've got all these ideas, you've got all these plans, but you can't just think them. You can't just have these ideas and expect them to manifest. You have to actually work with reality. We have to lay a foundation here. We have to put steps into action. We have to, make this integrated. And so Saturn is now going into this like 4-month period where it's going to be asking us to lay that foundation and to put those steps into action. If Mercury's dreaming and thinking and planning and hoping and organizing for more money in the bank account or like a body that feels healthier and better to us or whatever else, now Saturn's saying, well, Mercury, those are great plans, those are great thoughts, but what are we going to do about it, other than just think and dream it? So that tension might be showing up right now in the form of a dialogue between what we want to see in our reality and what we're thinking and planning about, and the actual action steps or steps forward that are required to bring it into grounded, real manifestation. And that dialogue will be ongoing. Mercury will start to move forwards and it'll do its thing and it'll come out of this tense dialogue with Saturn, but Saturn will be doing this review work for the next 4 months, asking us to lay the bricks of the house, asking us to make things real, asking us to put in the work. And if we work with that instead of against that, 4 months from now, when it's the fall, we can take a step back and we can kind of survey everything we've built, and we'll see that we've really made things a lot more real in our experience if we put in that work. Or we can kind of resist it and get frustrated with reality and experience Saturn kind of dragging us backwards by the feet. And that's not the fun way to do it. So I'd recommend recognizing this energy is here and just kind of rolling up the sleeves and saying like, okay, like let's make this real. Be it the business moves, the relationship boundaries, the diet, the exercise, the financial planning, whatever it is that you can do to get more lined up with the reality that you want to create for yourself. There's a really great energy here for putting those pieces into place. And doing so will be the remedy to any frustration or tension that's being felt during this time. So that's just to lay out a little bit of what's happening here through this weekend. And that's the Astrocast for June. So let me introduce you to the rest of the show. This is First Friday Spirit Talk, where we get together on the first Friday of every month at noon to explore different spiritual and metaphysical topics in depth. I'm here with two of my favorite spiritual, professional, psychic, and spiritual teachers, Reverend Ginny Brown and Scout Bartlett. And I'm your host and astrologer, Christopher Mitchell. So this month, we're going to be exploring the theme of connection and communication. Some really fundamental parts of the human experience that are like well worth unpacking and taking a deeper look at. And to that end, I'll just go ahead and pass some questions off to our...
I liked it a lot better, Chris, when you were talking about Mercury and Saturn figuring this out on their own. And then you brought it back to us actually having to do our own work as a Pisces. Not my favorite.
Well, that's exactly the tension point, is we can't just have it. We can't just dream it into being. We actually, to make it reflected in the dream, we have to put in some Saturnian realness. So we actually have to do a show,
We have to show up and actually do a lifetime as long as we're doing a lifetime.
I know it feels so easy when I'm just making the list of questions, but then we actually, got to figure it out here in live. And it's
That's right. That's right. Yeah. We got to incarnate it. We have to bring it into the meat.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know what to do with that.
And I just ruined Christopher's script completely. Sorry, everybody. You just missed a well-prepared script because I just had to get in the middle of it.
I'm realizing I got to make my script more real because I kind of walk off the deep end at the end here and don't know what I'm doing with it. But the
speaking of communication and interconnection,
yeah, everything can kind of be summed up as Mercury is stationing direct. But so, okay, let's dive into the topic of connection and communication and just like kind of ask about this impulse to connect, because we all have it, and we've talked about this on other shows. If you look back at the dating and the relationship episodes, there's some really great stuff in there about why we connect with one another. But beyond just dating and attraction and sexuality and all that juicy stuff, even just at the grocery store in a checkout line or with our friends and board game night or whatever else it might be, there does seem to be this innate impulse of the soul, of the spirit, to want to connect, to not just sit alone in the room, but to get out there somewhere, And I wanted to start by exploring that. Like, what is it that drives this impulse to connect and share with one another? Scout, do you want to kick us off?
I asked my guidance about that at one point in time, because every now and then I get these moments where I get deep enough into a state of visionary to be able to do a direct communication back and forth. It reminds me at one point in time, way back, it's fun to watch in the spiritual community, different things phase in and phase out of being cool. And at one point in time, being psychic was the cool thing to be. I think right at the moment, being a multidimensional being that's never been a human being on the planet Earth is the cool thing. But, anyway. But somebody came up to me after a presentation, and they're all glossy-eyed with, "It must be so wonderful to be psychic." And I was hoping they had some answers. So I said, "Why?" and their response was, because you can get all your own answers. No, it doesn't work that way. It turns out that what you really find out as you open that consciousness is that your old questions actually weren't very deep and weren't very interesting, because you get a whole new set that are a whole lot deeper and a whole lot more interesting. The primary drive on a spiritual level for why we have this drive to interconnect and interweave That primary drive on a spiritual level is, my guidance phrased it for two reasons. One, that interconnection with other human beings allows us to access and find our own center or our own heart center more deeply than we would isolated on our own. And two, those interconnections with other human beings manage to punch us in the buttons enough for us to find all of those fabulous buttons where we get triggered and find our way back to the heart center. So it's there to move us toward finding our state of who we really are, and at the same time to move us toward noticing the pieces of us that get in the way of who we really are.
I think that's great, Scout. When I back up and take a look at that, it's also around survival. Women in tribe were the ones to communicate from one group to another group. That's why we're so talkative, right? Is like say, hey, I found out this leaf is poisonous, don't eat it. Or this can save you, right? And so there was a lot especially while the men of the tribe were out hunting and kind of working on that, the women were coming together and gathering information, not just gathering berries and tools and things like that, but gathering information. And women kind of have a natural non-competitiveness with each other in that way. So it helped to build a certain amount of safety. And so, kind of when we think about, especially in those days, we needed each other. There's like an actual need to kind of spread this information for our own survival. And we found out that the more we share, the safer we become. And so, kind of in this modern age, you can see that too. The more that, the shorter the distance between information, between the web, between kind of how cellular phones work, like the communication lines have streamlined and are just extremely fast. So that information that we can pass back and forth can be both like toxic and it can also be very helpful for our growth. But it does create a webbing of safety and connection that we've needed to survive here longer,
Or to actually reach the point of why we come into bodies in the first place.
mm-hmm.
Untangling all of that, no, rephrase, experiencing separateness and untangling everything that we attach to separateness so that we can find what it is that we are mutual and in common. I think it was Carl Jung made a mention of frequently, I think that, paraphrasing him badly, but his comment was, I think that the things that we most seek to hold secret are frequently the things that we actually most have in common in our human condition. 2, 3, 4.
I guess I didn't expect that to be the dropping off point, but
Yeah, I have absolutely nothing else to say. Women are the chatty ones. Oh, you're over here. Women are the chatty ones.
so in there, in what we're unpacking here about the reasons why we connect with one another, I also wanted to explore sometimes why do these connections and friendships take different forms? Is it like Scout, you're saying that these connections are here because each one is designed to push our buttons in unique ways, and that's why they're shaped differently. But why is it we might have like a best friendship with this person and a business relationship with this person, and we like to go get hot dogs once a month with this person? It's like, why does it take such a varied why did different friendships and connections show up the way that they do in our space? I guess we'll go with Ginny this time to start. Okay.
For those of y'all watching, what we have is a silent, weird communication because we're making some small changes in how we run the format. And so frequently, none of us know how we run the format.
Perfect. It's presence. Connections take different shapes for what we need at that time. There's that great saying of when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And, our friendships and our connections all are teachers to us. It just depends on what we're open to at that time and what we need. And I've found the more in touch I am with my emotional body and my needs at a given time, I can see why something and why someone is showing up in the way that they are. They may show up to help push me through what I fear, by challenging some of those things, or they may show up in support of, like, hey, I've been down that road and let me walk with you while you go down it for the first time. So, we're ultimately, especially friendships, there's a certain level of joy that comes through in connection there. And it can be a positive motivator when we're looking at, difficult growth periods. And so the more we can cultivate joy, the easier that those are, the higher we go, the easier a challenge can feel. And so friendships in particular, I find are bonding because of where we're at in our path. I'm humble enough to say that I have a lot more friends ahead of me in their path, than I do behind me. So there's, and I feel very lucky for that, to have mentors showing me and really developed in areas that I'm weak. And I think I've called that in on purpose. So it's, I think it's important to look at those as reflections. And I'll bring up a devil's advocate question, because someone brought it up to me fairly recently of, in a study group I was in A Course in Miracles. Someone brought up, because of one of the lessons in it, are our friends really our friends, or are they our enemies? And are our enemies really our friends? Because your enemy is someone who will challenge your way of thinking. They will challenge your stance on something. They see past what you're presenting and challenge you to look beyond that, or call you out for what they see. And so I found that to be a really interesting question. And, if called to it, we can play with it a little bit, but I kind of agreed with them, that sometimes we can call in likeness and people to kind of bind us in a certain level of thinking, like, yeah, this person is terrible, they're just in agreement with you, versus being friends with the enemy. There's a great Abraham Lincoln quote. It says, I don't like that man, I must get to know him. So there's a lot that we can embrace and we can learn by connecting and embracing the people who challenge us the most, and regardless of what shape they come into your life. So I just want to kind of also put that out there. Scout.
Which doesn't mean that you have to dance the dance of the people that are toxic to you or have animos. But I 100% agree. It does mean that what you want to do is take a look at what button they pushed. What part of you either wanted to counterattack, felt that it was hurtful, went unsure of yourself, pulled back, went hesitant, whatever button in you that went off, that's absolutely 100% worth addressing. 100% of the time. Still doesn't mean you have to hang out with them. There are people in my life that I love very, very deeply, and my preference would be I'm never in the same room with them again, because they're not nice. They're no fun. Different shapes and different forms of connection. The why and wherefore of the universe in preferably under 2 minutes. In the beginning, there was an original wholeness of purely aligned energy that we only have one weird word for in English, and it's got lots of taint on it. So we'll just call it an original wholeness. Floating in whatever original wholeness is float in, because I don't know how many there are. This original wholeness comes across a pool of randomly scrambled energy, raw material, and effectively in the Christian teaching says, let there be alignment, or let there be light. Each of us is a fragment of that original wholeness that fragmented out as a small fragment, took on a bigger gaggle of that unaligned raw material, and made that our project to bring all of that energy up in frequency and into alignment with that original wholeness, so that we leave as a small fragment, we return as a big fragment, and thus God grows. If we thought of that original wholeness as like a deeply woven tapestry, every point where every being of us is a place where threads cross, or a knot in the tapestry, however you want to work that, to try and stretch my analogy really ridiculously. But we're a place where threads cross, which means that there are other thread crossings right around us with whom we share a ton of threads. There are other thread crossings further out with whom we share a few threads, and there's some thread crossings with whom we only share tapestryness. The only people that will ring your chimes while you're here on the planet are people with whom you share threads. Other thread crossings with whom you share threads. So we could think of when we feel massively drawn to find out why we have a huge connection with this other being. Gosh, am I supposed to date them? Am I supposed to be friends with them? Gee, they just interviewed with me. They don't have all the qualifications we wanted, but I should hire them. All of this stuff. When my friend's friend, and I'm suddenly more connected with them than my acquaintance's friend, and I'm suddenly more connected with them than I am with the acquaintance. This is all about how many of those threads we share. So you could think of it that every being with whom we share threads is mated to our soul. Go play with that one. But the threads we share, and actually more, the reason we interact is because we share threads. The shape of our interaction is based on the jumble of raw material we took on to sort out. And so we are little walking magnets in a totally fluid artificial reality that we call real. And we magnetize toward us whatever's resonating most loudly. So if we're resonating a lot on something that's bugging the living daylights out of us, we're going to see a lot of either the same or complement to that particular magneticness. If we're resonating a lot on our heart being wide open, if we're resonating a fabulous lot on our heart being wide open, then suddenly we're sitting in front of a crowd of 10,000 people who have all gathered to study with the guru because it makes their heart open. It's all magnetics, and it's all that we're drawn together because we share threads. So the simple answer is, anybody that's got an important role in your lifetime, I'll help you out, free psychic reading. If they have an important role in your lifetime now, chances are really good they've had important roles in your lifetime in other nows. Yes, indeed, you've shared future lives and past lives, and it's kind of like the same way that when I declared my electrical engineering major in university, I sort of predicted that there were about 45 guys that were going to show up in my classes pretty frequently. And 4 girls, I think, that were going to show up in my classes pretty frequently. Not because necessarily that we would all be friends. They were just all going to be on the same learning curve. So we're big magnets, and what we focus into, where we carry our biggest charge, has a whole lot of effect on what we watch ourselves magnetize toward and what we watch magnetize toward us. I love it. All those hand gestures totally make sense in my head. And on camera, watching myself, it's like, what did that do?
It makes for good thumbnails when I'm editing. I'll tell you that.
Let's find Scout with his hands in a weird position again.
The only trick is finding one where your face is showing and you're making interesting hands. But it's cool. It's cool expressivity. So on this topic is the other half of our coin today, because we're talking about connection. We're also talking about communication. And I wanted to, before our meditation break here, kind of start to explore how are these two things connected and interrelated, because clearly, almost self-evidently, they are. It's why I'm framing the question the way that I am, is like, of course, connection and communication are interrelated. But then when you go to unpack that, why are they interrelated? Like, what's the function that communication serves in this dance of connection, and how can we start to think about communication as part of this conversation that we're having?
The weirdest part of communication is remembering, and I'm not going to attribute the quote, but remembering that communication is the message received, not the message intended or the message sent. And so a big part of the dance of communication, one, we're in here learning about separateness and separation and trying to find the way to re-allow intimacy. But we're studying separateness and separation and trying to bridge that. And so multiple parts. One is finding out how I am perceived. Another is making that connection so that we get the resonance of shared information. Those berries are poisonous. Don't let your friends eat them. Serve them to the other tribe that's going to attack you. That was rude. But it's really about finding out, how can I shape my thought process to match to the thought processes of the person or people I'm communicating with, so that what I want them to hear from me is what they hear. I have to study how other people click to communicate. Ginny, what are you going to do with that one?
Well, communication is a form of connection.
Yes.
We communicate in layered ways. Language is kind of our last frontier, really. Our energy is communicating for us well before anything else, and it's carrying. I forget who brought this up to me in session this week, but your energy is actually holding your authenticity and how you really feel, and that's already been perceived by the other person. So your words can be doing this dance, or kind of having this other way of trying to kind of like romance it or explain it. But when energy meets energy, it's all been exposed, it's all been said, it's all been understood. So on the energy body level, that's our deepest and like most consistent and honest level of communication. But then we have body language. The body has its own way of expressing itself. And, the same in our, written and verbal language. And so we're just trying to bridge, and, there's different chakras that govern these things. So on the energy body, that's primarily coming from your third chakra. Your body language is primarily coming from your second chakra, and your language point is your fifth at the throat. And so, all these main chakras are communicating in their own way, and getting a feel of the environment, and also kind of letting other people know who and what you are. I've been studying with my puppy for a good bit of time. She's been teaching me about how animals communicate, not just in the ways that animals normally communicate, and I communicate with animals, which is in symbols and pictures and body language, etc. But they have a really in-depth language that they use with each other, and it's fascinating. It comes through in scent, in body language, in gesture, and in being vocal with each other. And it's very, very layered. And so they're sending different signals, and they send these different signals to get more of a clearer picture. And so the more that I study with her, these subtle languages start to come online for me with human beings and with plants, and just all these different, things in our life, like beings in our life. And so communication and connection is how, they're one and the same. Communication is how we connect, is how I would simplify that.
I saw a fabulous cartoon the other day, and in the cartoon, there's a man standing there looking at his phone and holding a leash, and the dog on the other end of the leash is looking at a fire hydrant. And the thought bubble above the man's head said, 5 messages. The thought bubble above the dog's head said, 38 messages.
It's true.
So we're at the halfway point of Spirit Talk, where we like to take a 5-minute break or so to do a meditation. Do you all remember whose month it is to do that? Scout's turn. Okay, so we'll turn it over to Scout to lead us in a meditation, and we'll pick back up with our questions from there, if my brain still works.
That's our fun game, is how far can we get Christopher out to where he can't think? every now and then when I'm teaching meditation, I get to have conversations with people that say, well, I tried meditation, I can't meditate. And so I always like to reinforce that meditation is not about that somehow you blank your mind and all your peripheral thoughts go away until you click the switch again when you come back. Meditation is about choosing your focus and then being willing and courageous enough to come back to that focus every time your mind wants to take you off onto some other random thought, so that you're interrupting those thought chains and building your ability to step out of the thought chains and be present. It's a net side effect. I'm going to teach you the LIVE live beam meditation practice. We'll run through it really quickly. But we're going to add in a little extra piece to it today on expanding out, because we're about communication. But communication is not only outbound, communication is also letting people perceive you with authenticity, authentically. So with that, if y'all want to go ahead, probably you want to close your eyes, let yourself relax. And just draw in a long, deep breath till your lungs are full and let that air flow out again. And as you're ready for another breath, let it be a long, deep breath. And this time, imagine that air flowing out through your body as if your body were silk or fabric, layered upon layered upon layered. And with each breath, let the air flow in and let it flow out through your body, feeling your body open and expand. And in your imagination, imagine reaching a hand down to the center of this planet Earth and stirring that warm, rich, dense energy there in the center of the planet. Curl that hand into a cup and use that cupped hand now to draw a surge of energy up from the center of the planet. To draw a surge of energy up from the center of the planet, right up and into your body, just in front of your tailbone. It's just energy passing through energy. And connect it there at your tailbone, first chakra, associated color red. Let yourself connect it there and allow yourself to match that warmth, center of earth, up through the earth, and match that warmth right there at your tailbone in your pelvic cradle, right there between your sits bones. And I know, childhood, we get trained to not let energy flow there. You're okay. Open it up, allow it to warm and flow. And bringing your focus back now to that connection, that streamer of energy from the center of the earth where it connects at the base of your spine, staying deep inside your body, just in front of your spine, staying deep inside your body. Stretch that streamer of energy from the center of the earth to draw it up through your low abdomen, second chakra, associated color orange, to draw it up to your upper abdomen, solar plexus, third chakra, associated color yellow, to draw it up to deep inside your body, just in front of your spine, to draw it up deep inside to the heart level, fourth chakra, associated color green, to draw it up to the base of your throat, fifth chakra, associated color blue, on up into the middle of your head, sixth chakra, associated color indigo, blue-black, to draw it to the top of your head, seventh chakra, associated color purple, and then to stretch it out the top of your head and take it all the way up and into a big energy cloud overhead that I'm just going to call Source. Piercing this energy surge up and into Source so that you become the stacked set of lenses that focuses this upflow of earth energy right up through all of your energy centers, through your body, out the top of that body's head and up and into Source, uplifting, transmuting physical level energy from earth core through your body up and into Source. Bringing your focus back to my words, I'd like you to imagine expanding, increasing, richer, denser, faster, brighter. Make it more energy flowing up that beam. Make it more. As you do so, the same as turning up the dimmer on a light bulb where it makes the filament glow, making that beam of energy from earth core up through you, fountaining into Source, making that beam richer, denser, faster, brighter, increases a glow from inside your body, glowing out through your body, and in fact allow it to glow through everything around you, floors, chairs, walls, ceilings, people, baby ducks, baby rhinos, Scout redeeming, newspaper worthy, lotto winnings. Let it just glow right out through you and right out through everything in your reality. And now what I'd like you to do, I'd like you to think of 4 or 5 people that you know care about you or love you, and just imagine them very close in the same space with you. And you're allowing that same glow to glow right through you and right through those 4 or 5 people. And if you came up with more than 4 or 5, great, add them all in. But let that glow from inside of you glow right out through you and right out through those imaginary people. And we're going to add more now. I'd like to think of 4 or 5 people that you interact with in your occupation that you're neutral or okay with, not personal. Add them in close to you and refocus into that beam of energy in the center of you. Increase that flow of that beam to expand that glow. Let it glow out through your body and let it glow through those additional people that are part of your occupational week. Or your shopping, whatever you do. And now I'd like you to gather in 3 or more people that you notice punch your button. 3 or more people that you notice there's a level of discord for you. Gather those in. Refocus on that beam of energy from the center of the earth, up through your body, up into that cloud source. Speed it up, increase it, richer, denser, faster, brighter. And now allow that glow to glow right through those individuals that you notice punch your buttons. You're not going to get energy cooties. There's no transmission. You're being your energy throughout your energy field, regardless of what occupies your energy field in the visual universe. Just let your energy glow right through everyone and everything around you, even these people we've added in imaginarily, as if that was different. Allow yourself the full space to let your light glow out from inside of you. Once more, bring your focus back into that beam, whether you picture it, feel it, imagine it, taste it, smell it, hear it. Bring your focus back in that beam and just take a moment to imagine you can find any place in that beam that's bent or constricted based on these other people we've added, and just draw it straight so that you could walk through your day every time you practice this meditation, even if you come back and get it on YouTube. That when you walk through your day, you're allowing yourself to let that energy flow right up through your body all the way to source. And you're allowing yourself to let your light glow right out through you and right out through everyone around you. And you're dropping off the inhibitions that would have you hide yourself. And you're simply letting yourself be your light. Allowing that to continue. I'm going to do a quick energy bump through the entire broadcast area. It'll also work through the recording, one of those weird things about metaphysics. It may or may not be tangible to you, depending upon how well I'm doing it and whether it's tuned to you. There we go. And with that energy, for you to be immersed in an even broader energy, giving you the freedom and the space to allow your energy field to expand, recognizing that you're attending First Friday Spirit Talk, live or recorded. Give your body a big breath. And as you let it out, just let it bring your eyes back open and bring yourself back into whatever space your body's in. Just stay with that. Let yourself continue to be aware, conscious, listening to us, interacting in your own mind with us, and still allowing your energetic field to radiate out from inside of you and out through everything around you. Which brings up, I know a lot of people teach a whole lot about psychic guard and protection and psychic aikido and psychic karate or whatever they teach. What I've found is that if I am maintaining my energy field as me, if I am allowing me to be my energy field, if I'm allowing my energetic broadcast to pass right through everything around us, even if it's a person or a puppy or a kitten or a baby duck, if I'm allowing me to be my energetic field, and if my return focus that I come back to again and again and again is me being my energy field, me noticing when I've gone into an indulgent space of grumpy or crunched or smunched or whatever I might go into, coming back again to open my energy flow and be my energy field, I can let everything broadcast from the people around me simply pass right on through. The same way that if you're listening to the same radio station you listen to all the time, you let the commercials that are familiar pass right on through because you've heard them all the time, right? They just pass right on through, no effect. I can allow whatever's being broadcast around me to pass right on through without disturbing my stability and without thinking that that pass-through of them in any way reshapes me unless I clench up on it and reshape myself. The strongest protection I've seen that's the least expense in terms of energy is me coming back and being my frequency, myself, my presence, my essence in my energy field unconditionally, regardless of circumstance, while witnessing whatever else is in my surroundings, but being me, witnessing what's in my surroundings, as opposed to my old empathic habit of matching to whatever was going on, shaping myself to it, allowing myself to be my own energy field. Doesn't then leave me wide open to any weird energy cooties if I'm not going to match to them, grip them, or sing along with them. I just be my own juice. I gave you extra time to come back, Chris.
I think I'm still here. Uh, I made a note of a thing I wanted to follow up on. Ginny, you were talking before about what you were learning from your dog from Friday, and
Mhm.
the way that our energy communicates for us before anything else does. And then our body language and our emotionality, whatever. There's all these things that are authentically, transparently communicating with the other souls that we interact with. And I wanted to get in a little more into what you were saying about how, on top of that transmission of truth, for whatever reason, our mind or our posturing or our communication can sometimes come in and try and dance over that. Why do we become incongruous with ourselves that way and try and put on a show or posture or defend or pretend to be something other than what we're really authentically feeling?
Phone rings at 4:30 a.m. I pick it up. Oh, the other person says, "Were you asleep?" Oh no, I wasn't asleep. Yeah.
Conditioning is what does that. From I think we've all had this experience as a young child where, we were introduced to someone we didn't trust, and it could be an uncle, an aunt, a grandparent, or whatever. And your parents go give him a hug, go be friendly. What are you doing? Go give him a kiss. And so we're conditioned very early that our authenticity, whether that's being upset, angry, fearful, untrusting, our natural instincts are wrong. So that conditioning starts to interrupt our natural tendencies. And that happens to all of us very, very young. We're taught to go against our intuitive and natural nature, and to behave in a certain way that society or the family or whatever authority, in church, the priest, however you're supposed to behave versus your natural behavior. And that causes often, I mean, I think in every person that I work with, including myself, that is a part of the wounding that we carry. And we're learning to kind of go back to that authentic state and learning how to trust ourselves, learning how to trust that intuitive hit of like, I don't want to hug Uncle Tom. Like, he's weird. Like there's something about him that says no to me. I need to trust that. And it doesn't matter. The offense doesn't matter. Like, I don't have to go against myself in order to be socially accepted, because that's the fear. That's what causes the separation. That's what causes us to fear being ostracized or kicked out of tribe or out of community. So we tend to take on that conditioning as a way to stay connected. And so it's really interesting. It's like the more disconnected you are to yourself, the more you're connected into this fabric of what's socially acceptable, the more you're accepted, but the less you're connected to yourself. So where is that? And I think I've most people who come to me for support have are somewhere in that tangle. It's not the core of my work per se, but it is something that I feel like we are all coming to terms with at a given point in our hero's journey on Earth. Is, do I continue to accept the conditioning, and behave in this certain way, or do I return to my authenticity and learn how to express from there? So it can be a bit of a dance. It can be both. a lot of us straddle lines, and we learn how to temper ourselves. It's not as explosive or whatever as it was when we were children. We can take some of the societal pieces and integrate them to support us in being into communicating more clearly, or to being heard in ways that we want to be heard. But you can get into an integration point with both, where you can be authentically you and a member of society. They don't have to be separate from each other, but we are taught, just verbatim, that they will be as children. You get sent to your room, you get sent away, with certain behavior. And so we start to shame those things and remove our connection from ourselves, fearing that that will be permanent, or fearing that that's going to be the way it is.
When we're first born, that inner part, that intuitive part of us, all of our attention is present. All of our life force is present, and the intuitive part of the gig is running the gig. Then somewhere around 2 years old, the conscious mind kind of has a conversation with the intuitive and says, if you keep falling on your face and hitting the corner of the coffee table, you're going to end up dead. To which the intuitive part says, dead? And the conscious mind says, yeah, dead, gone, cease to exist. And the intuitive part says, there is no cease to exist, there's only always. At which point the conscious mind does the only logical thing it can do and says, I'm taking over. And any of y'all that have ever raised little munchkin humans, you've gotten to watch that shift from wide open intuitive attention available to everything to I am in charge. I am going to determine my path now, which is referred to as the delightful and exquisite self-realization twos, sometimes shortened to one word. That intuitive part of us knows we are. The conscious mind part of us thinks we have to find safety. The intuitive part of us knows we are part of all. The conscious mind part of us thinks we have to find how can we be safe with all enough to survive, much less how can we be safe enough with all to thrive. And so exactly as Ginny was describing, there is that whole place where that conscious mind is recording everything we've done and everything that the big people around us have done that allowed them to survive. And then we imprint those patterns in the conscious mind, which is sort of if I never do anything different than what I've done in the first 7 years, then I'll live forever. Kind of Stephen Wright's joke of I plan to live forever. And so far, so good. Right. When he does it, it's funny. But there's a deep place in there where this learning of separation is a learning about the part of us that thinks it's in danger and has to survive, and releasing into the part of us that knows it is forever and that it's here on a learning journey. One of the training classes that I've done when I've taught teacher training, we actually have taken groups of people and had everybody clear their mind while one person focused on an experience. And then we went around the room and everybody described what had flowed through their mind in that moment. And we pretty much draw a framework of the experience the one person was focusing on that was just in their energetic broadcast into the room. Everybody receiving it. And so when I define authenticity, there's a real key part that my definition of authenticity is that whatever I'm expressing matches whatever I'm resonating and broadcasting on an energetic level. The fabulous, phenomenal active performer, they are being what they're performing, and so you get it on every level. The kid that's been at Disneyland far too long and shouldn't be leading the cruise with the attacking hippopotamus anymore is busy thinking about the party that night and rendering his lines, and there's such a lack of authenticity for it to be annoying. Oh, look out. They're going to attack us. Bang, bang. Oh, now we're safe. Whatever. Old reference. One of the things we got to find out, and I want to respond to Louise's question, one of the things we got to find out, well, in addition to the fact that COVID made major changes in American politics, but one of the things that we got to find out was if we took away a whole lot of the FOMO, if we took away a whole lot of the what's going on around me that I need to be going and participating in, how can I go distract myself with a restaurant, with shopping, with hanging out with people, with, go to a bar, whatever. We got to find out that people sitting alone with their minds, a lot of them found out that they themselves were not very good company. Other people got to find out that if they took away all of those distractions, they could actually be with themselves more strongly. It's part of this. I mean, COVID is one factor of this amazing change of transformation on the planet Earth, where there's an energetic flow on Earth that's bringing that intuitive part of us, that who we really are, that core essence. It's bringing it forward. Now, the thing that happens is when you push something forward, some people develop even stronger resistance to not having that happen. I'm going to resist against that. And other people move with it. COVID was just one of those moments that was expressing, let's everybody stay home, sit down, and re-clear. But it was also an exit point, that there were a whole lot of people that were not going to stick around for the remodel of the energy of planet Earth. And, several million people had an out of nowhere brand new experience of how we leave the planet. Being sick and dying, not new. That particular sick was the new part. So it was both people transitioning off, but it was also bringing a hyper awareness of we are family. If more people were for people, up with people. It brought it forward so that we got to watch the people that would embrace the notion of everybody's safety and survival is everybody's job. And the people that would go, how dare you say everybody's safety and survival is everybody's job? I don't want that incumbent on me. I want to demand to be 2 years old, sorry, my view, and change the world around me and make it be the way I think it should be. And we get to watch that in this amazing polarity dancing with the planet. Dance in that polarity by coming into your essence. Dance in that polarity by coming into your authenticity and by being what it is you're communicating and by communicating what it is you are. Wow, that went deep. I'm going to just sort of stop there before I dig any deeper.
I wanted to wrap
So
up on.
take it away, Christopher.
I'm having such a weird day with the energy today. I don't know where I'm at right now, but I got a list of questions to guide me, thankfully. And I thought it would be good to touch on the idea of chords and hooks as kind of like terms that we run into a lot around both connection and communication. It's something I've been paying a lot of attention to through this whole Mercury retrograde, is trying to notice where I'm courting in my communication, or where I'm hooking, or where I'm being courted, or where I'm being hooked. And so yeah, I just wanted to explore the idea of healthy communication through that lens, and how can we notice when we are engaged, when and why we would engage in courting and hooking with others, and when and why others would engage in courting and hooking with us, and how to navigate that as we find ourselves tangled up in it all. Ginny, do you want to kick us off there?
Well, courting happens naturally. Courting happens naturally. Like, depending on the situation, between the three of us, there's several chords happening right now. There's an emotional chord, there's a heart chord, and there's a communication chord. There's also one that comes back and forth in the sixth chakra, which is around ideas. And so they bounce and they kind of come in, they come out, and courting happens naturally, whether you know what you're doing or not. And so it's
even more so if not.
It's the way that we gather information. It's a way that we gather information. Hooks is just a term. A hook can be something that you're sending out with a negative intention or intending to keep your cord into someone. You can't do that unless they allow it. So it can be a wasted effort to try to hook someone into a communication line with you. I don't really use that kind of terminology, because if I'm going to hook someone, then they have a buy-in to it. I have an intention behind it. It's not going anywhere good, so we're already in kind of victim mentality, and it's just going to get messy. But why don't we do a little courting exercise? And so you can experience what healthy courting looks like. So you can keep your eyes open or closed, but just put your focus here on your fifth chakra. Okay. And just say hello to it. And I'd like for you to say hello to the energy of my dog, Friday. And if you don't know what she looks like, she's an Australian Shepherd. Very cute. Just say hello to her energy. Now send a cord, imagine a cord, and send it to her energy. And just tap it against her aura. And notice a feeling, or a word, a message. And then retract that cord. That's how we do this 1,000 times a day, maybe more, depending on what kind of work you do. For me, when I tapped into Friday's energy, she gave me like a wind. It was like cool. That's what my kid's up to, right? And you all may have experienced something completely different. You may have felt her heart. You may have felt her puppy energy. Whatever it is, it's a form of communication. And so I tend to do that. I will throw out a cord, especially to public figures. Friday considers herself a public figure. So if you ever want to feel of like what's going on in Washington, D.C., well, pick someone. Send out a communication cord, get a feel, and retract it. So some of it, if you're thinking about someone after the fact, like you're ruminating, you can't stop thinking about it, you probably have a cord to them. So you can just ask yourself, where is that cord? And then you just gently release it on both sides. Healthy communication to me is honest communication. And honest communication needs to be both ways. So if I'm going to express something to you, I want to come from as honest of a place as I know in myself. And I want to sit in an authentic place of being open to listening to you in as open and of a place as I can as a listener. And so healthy communication to me is about opening up. If I'm going to open up a channel of communication, not only do I want to express, but I also want to receive. The fifth chakra is very dual. It's a giver and a taker. Your ears can't stop listening. You can muffle them, you can try to control that, but it's a contained space. And what we say, we have more control over than what we hear, right? So to me, thoughtfulness and mindfulness around what you're communicating is important. Like, what do I feel motivated around to communicate? What am I trying to communicate? And just being authentic and honest about what that is and what you're looking to get out of it. And to the best of your ability, offering it both ways.
We clearly have a lot to say about that, Chris. We might want to make a note that perhaps we want to come back to courting as a topic next month.
I'm also noticing that like I want to do a lot of more questions I have that just flew out of all that. So
I
yeah,
hate it when we're having serious fun in this show and suddenly the clock says, you don't get to have any more of this fun today.
I'd be down to revisit that. Do you want to just make that the plan here and now? It could be something like courting and then also unpacking the emotional dynamics behind all of these intentions and communications so that we can understand things that muddle intentionality more clearly as well.
There you go.
Cool. There we go. Something. We'll title it something.
Way less words than that.
Way less words.
We'll
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, that's great. I guess we are at the end here. So we'll pick back up on that. And for now, let's just share a little bit about who we are, what we're about. I'm Christopher Mitchell. You can get in touch with me at Unlimited Astrology. reverendginny@gmail.com if you would like to book a reading, get some astrological consultation, and I'll give it over to Ginny and then Scout to round us out.
I'm Reverend Ginny Brown. You can find me at ginny.brown.com and work with individuals, animals, your business, your coupling, whatever you got. Come my way. Scout?
I'm Scout like Pathfinder, Bartlett like Pears. There it is. It's over here. That's the website. There's a shortcut of just notscott.com. I do a radio show, which is one of the things that I produce and host and tithe to the universe, that each Monday and Wednesday in San Francisco, early in the morning, we air a radio show. But for those of us that sleep in the morning, we archive it up on my website under Radio Archives Life Insights Live. It's one of several shows in there. So Radio Archives Life Insights Live, there's hundreds of hours of teaching about metaphysics, personal growth, self-understanding, consciousness, psychology, all that good stuff, brain stuff. So I welcome you to that. That's all available for free. I do private sessions. I am always open to do clients. You can contact us through the website. I want to remind you that this is First Friday. There we go. This is First Friday, as it were, Spirit Talk, named for Friday. Well, kind of. First Friday Spirit Talk. We appear on the first Friday of every month. We do this live. I refer to it as Have a Psychic for Lunch noon Zoom, because it's noon on the first Friday. Even if the first Friday is a holiday or a holiday weekend, we're still here. If you're looking on YouTube, please click the subscribe button. In fact, gather up your entire Outlaw Underground Needlepoint squad and get them all to go in and click on subscribe on YouTube. We'd appreciate that. We don't care we'd like them to watch and hear the material, but mostly we just need the numbers. To every single one of you, I want to offer out two challenges. One, treat yourself as a loved one, because you truly are. And then just notice, no matter where on earth you are, it's a perfect day for you to have a great day on purpose. Love you.